Yo, everybody, welcome back to the #1 TV show in the history of the universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the newest novel by John Irving, and that is The Last Chairlift. Just came out a few days ago. Let's see. Yeah, it came out Tuesday. I read it over the last couple days. I'm filming this on Friday. So yeah, just came out. Let's talk about the cover because you know I love graphic design and cover art. And so we always give a short little review of the packaging of every novel we get. This is pretty cool. I like the colors. Stands out on the shelf. It's very elegant looking. It's clearly a picture of a ski lift chairlift. It's got a nice little wraparound, bunch of little blurbs on the back. Pretty cool looking book, all things considered. It's got the nice deckled edge papers. I love that. Classy looking book for a classy writer and storyteller. So, right in the beginning of this book, there's something. I think there's a foreword where John Irving mentions this is going to be his last epic novel. Everything else he writes from here on out, he says, is going to be short fiction. I don't know what that means, but that's what was said. So anyway, this guy has been one of my favorite novelists since the beginning of time when I could read as a young guy, and I've got all of his. I got a stack of his novels right here because I'm thinking of doing after I shoot this video, I'm thinking of doing a separate video of my John Irving book collection. Just show you every John Irving book I've got. And I've got most of his stuff. Anyway, what's this about? Literary fiction. There's a few authors I collect that I would just consider to be literary fiction writers. John Irving, Pat Conroy, there's a few others. Even John le Carré, the thriller writer. The prose is top notch. It is so elegant and professional and spot on and effortlessly just laid out on the page for us. I love this stuff. John Irving, in this book, as many of his books, he's sort of following those same John Irving tropes of quirky families and their long drawn out journeys through life, their family sagas that start at one point and end a generation later. We just get to see these families grow. This is a similar book to that. The prose and character building. Well, it's also a ghost story. I will tell you that. This is John Irving's first foray into sort of like Stephen King-esque territory, which I think is cool because I actually have often compared Stephen King's writing and John Irving's writing as being quite similar. In other words, they go off on a lot of asides and little tangents from the main story. That is the charm of their books. We've got the main themes going on, the main plots, the main characters, and then the next thing you know, we're spending several pages just on some quirky, little tangent that takes us on a little adventure, a sidestep adventure from the main quest, so to speak. I love that stuff. Stephen King does it brilliantly. That's why he's so popular. John Irving does it brilliantly too. I love those little pieces and elements of storytelling that a lot of writers don't do, or if they do, they don't do it as well as King and Irving. This is about skiing, a lot of political talk. Some of the themes, the characters are obsessed with stuff. Every John Irving novel, we learn what the characters are obsessed with in their life. We learn a lot of stuff about these people, their deepest, darkest secrets, their funny moments, their offhand, just weird moments, some of the just bizarro things that happen in their life, and a lot of what they're thinking and a lot of what they obsess about. There's characters in here that obsess about a myriad of different subjects, like Stein Erikson is one of the things. The old skier, we've got a from the 50s that we've got a character that obsesses with that. We've got someone that's obsessed with Moby Dick, and it seems like everybody's obsessed with movies. This is almost a love letter to probably a lot of the movies that John Irving has enjoyed over his life, a lot of the westerns and stuff. I mean, a lot of references to different old movies. There's a lot of talk of fist fucking. Not making that up at all. The AIDS epidemic gets brought up a lot in this. A lot of the characters have a lot to say about that. Most of the characters absolutely hate Ronald Reagan. In fact, I don't think I've read a John Irving novel since maybe A Prayer for Owen Meany, Prayer for Owen Meany, where Ronald Reagan was so just trampled upon by the characters and their opinions, which is fine. We've got a lot of these characters discuss the homophobia of the conservatives back in the 80s when AIDS was coming out, and these characters, they discuss a lot of their politics. One of the reasons I like John Irving books is because he's not afraid to have his characters actually say what they think, which is realistic. In real life, people do gather around the tables or the campfires or at the bar, and they discuss politics. And now a lot of readers get turned off by that when they start reading it in books, not realizing that they do that in their everyday life and everyday conversation. And John Irving puts those conversations in books. And a lot of his characters, I will be honest, I would imagine, having read a lot of John Irving books, that he's probably looking through the world through a liberal lens, which is fine. There's a lot of writers that I read that are liberal. There's a lot of writers like Tom Clancy, Vince Flynn, Brad Thor, Jack Carr that are clearly conservative. And there's some readers that are turned off by that when it's not even the author himself injecting his politics into the book, but the characters in the book talking about their politics, discussing their politics, things like this. And if you're someone out there that's like, well, I don't like that kind of because I've done reviews of Jack Carr's Terminal List series where it's clearly told from the perspective of a very conservative viewpoint, and I get people that comment, I'm not gonna read that MAGA hat loving freaking author, whatever. I'm just like, well, you're probably the type of person that should probably read that. Or if I mention that this John Irving comes off as kind of a liberal type guy, people, I'm not going to read that, woke bullshit. And you're probably the type of person that should read it. That's all I'm saying. John Irving's not afraid to have his characters talk politics and get pretty opinionated about it. And I think that that's probably a lot of John Irving's opinion coming out through the voice of those characters. It's fine. It's okay. That's what we read for. We want to learn about different opinions from our own. So don't be afraid of this stuff. Whether I review a Tom Clancy novel and you're pissed because Tom Clancy's a conservative or you're reading a John Irving, the reason I bring this up, the reason I am hammering down on this is because I think reading is important to our own just basic understanding of the world and compassion for other people. Enough of that bandstand. This book starts in 1941. And it's a family saga of a group of people, and it goes from 41 all the way up into our present day, which a lot of the John Irving novels do this. It's just we don't focus on just a week in someone's life. We focus on their life and how they turned out. And we get to see all the different things that happen to them that make them who they are throughout their life. And it's always just kind of moving. We can learn a lot and we can relate to a lot of it. We can learn a lot about our own selves through the voices and visions of these people. And there's visions here. This is a ghost story. This is a little bit of a leap out of John Irving's sort of normal thing where he gets into a little bit of the supernatural, or is it really? I mean, that's the question. So it starts out in 1941. Rachel Brewster is a ski champion of sort of middling level. She's not really like an Olympic star, but she doesn't suck. She's pretty good. In fact, she's good enough to go on to be a ski instructor in New England at some of the ski resorts. But her son, Adam, is really who we see this story through his voice mostly. We see what is going on in his life. He was born in a hotel in Aspen, Colorado. Or was it Vail? God, I can't remember. was out there somewhere. And mysterious circumstances of his birth. His mom is the ski instructor. They go through lots of different things in the book. I don't want to talk about that too much because I don't want to spoil any of their sort of conversations and drama that they go through. But the crux of the story is he travels back to the Hotel Jerome because that's where he was conceived, and he just wants to take that journey back. And that's when he starts to meet with the ghosts, or are they really ghosts, or is it just dreams? I mean, one of the themes of this is repeating. Are some of our dreams that repeat over and over and over in our head, are those ghosts trying to talk to us? Is that like some sort of like alternate universe version of ourselves trying to speak to us, like the string theory multiverse? Is that, I mean, what's going on with all of these dreams that we seem to have? And all of us have them. We've got just similar dreams. Like every once in a while, we got this dream that just repeats. Is that ghosts, or are there real ghosts? Is he really seeing things in the hotel? And all of the main tropes. Then I think John Irving is known for a few tropes here. The tropes of, like I said, generational families, quirky generational families, how these families sort of grow and fall apart and have drama, how their dysfunction sort of plays out, and how they circle back around over and over to closeness and dysfunction and despair, and then all of these things. And it's they can be both heartbreaking and lovable. People, I mean, they're not always who we think they are, and nobody really knows who they are themselves. And that's kind of the themes, and a lot of the theme is about sexual freedom. I think every single one of the John Irving novels I've read has got this sort of underlying sexual freedom sort of theme running through it, whether it's the Hotel New Hampshire or Cider House Rule. Well, all of them, just all of them. I like this. Well, as you can tell, I really, really love John Irving's writing. I love the stories he tells. Every couple of years, a new John Irving book comes out, and I love to delve into it and live in those worlds and read those words that are so wonderfully laid out on the page. I am giving this a solid 9.5 out of 10, as all John Irving novels are just absolute little masterpieces, or epic masterpieces in this case.